Hello, hello. What a joy it is to be here tonight with three amazing, amazing friends of mine who honestly, the four of us have spent many years and have met much background in transforming our lives and changing our lives. So tonight is meant to be a conversation around helping anyone watching this to really understand what it takes to stay in the wellness game, the weight loss game, the fitness game for the long term, and to understand how to continue to put that puzzle together. We called it missing pieces because, you know, all of us are assembling a puzzle all the time. So I'm excited to have everybody here. I think just opening, I'd love to share, each one of us has had kind of a transformational journey. So please share a little bit of that, you guys, as you're introducing yourself and speaking for the first time, because I'd rather they hear it from your mouth. But I think each one of us probably has our number one go-to thing that we tell people when they say, how did you do what you've done? How have you stayed in this? How have you gotten so fit and so strong? And how is it? And so I'd love to hear from you. Like, when someone says that to you after seeing your transformation, what is your go-to line that you tell people? Fatima, you want to start?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Fatima Sheikh, and I've been with Target 100 for over a year now. And Liz knows I started off. I just really started doing what I could. I listened to her, and I basically lost about over 30 pounds with just 4 of the pillars, and then joined F45 and lost 10 more pounds, and still on my journey. So for me, this has been a huge transformation, and I really took to heart what you said, Liz, about you kind of transform your life before you have weight loss. You don't wait for weight loss before you start doing things. And so that really hit home. And I kind of went down that route of starting to change things and doing things that I wanted and being passionate about life and all the changes I wanted to make. And that kind of put me in that space to want and to be able to achieve more weight loss. But you talk about like, what's the one thing I go to? And it's always what you talk about. It's behavior over time. Like, it has just been my mantra, and it's just been do what I can. And I think that shift alone has made such a huge impact, because I've always thought before, like, if I can't do it all, I'm not going to bother. And now I realize whatever little thing I'm doing, I'm moving along, like I'm making progress, and even little progress over time adds up to so much progress. And for me, that's just been ecstatic. Like, it's just proof that I can keep going at the rate that I'm going, and I will continue to have success. So
Oh,
that's been my thing. Yeah.
that's amazing. And you use two of my favorite phrases in the world. I'll just give them to anyone who's listening, because transformation leads to weight loss. Weight loss does
Mhm.
not lead to transformation, right? Everyone thinks they're going to lose weight and they're going to transform because they lost weight and their lives are going to get better. You have to get your life where you
Mhm.
want it to be and transform your way you're thinking and behaving and acting. Then that weight loss follows. And then we have a famous saying at Target 100, behavior over time equals results. I've got mugs with it on there. B over T equals R. Behavior over time. These
Oh,
changes to your behavior over time yield the results. Yes.
my favorite.
Well, those are really great. Thank you. Rahul, I'd love for you to share, a little bit about your background and your kind of go-tos.
Yeah, well, mine is different than probably a lot of others, but also similar. So, I've probably from my heaviest point, I'm down about 50 pounds. And so I have kept that off very, very easily and almost consistently. And I think that I've never been able to do that over a period of time. And so for me, you know, it's a journey. It's a continued process. But the best thing about this whole thing for me has been, I feel like over the last probably three years or so, particularly, I think after F45, I reached this point where I enjoy the things that are important to me and without some sort of remorse, right? Like,
Mhm.
if I want to have pizza, if I want to have ice cream, eat the things I really do, I'm able to do it at a place where I don't feel guilty about it. In fact, and it's not like a reward. It's not like, hey, I worked out hard, so I get to do this. It's actually just what's important to me. But there's a lot of challenges. Probably tried everything that people out there have tried to lose weight. And, whether it's running, trying up for 5K, I did a 10K. I thought, oh, if I run a marathon, I'll have to lose weight. Right. And I tried it all. I tried CrossFit. I tried, diets. I did, squeeze a lemon and apple cider vinegar and whatever, and then you'll lose weight. I've tried detox teas. I mean, you name it, I've tried it. Low carb diets. And honestly, none of that has worked. And so the thing that worked for me, and it's not a commercial or anything, it's genuinely 45 minutes with F45, because it's created a community that's helped me change what you talked about is you got to transform who you are, what you want to be in order to really change like what you may want to look like. And it's the community. So for example, like, a lot of my friends and folks I know, we have events or we have a work thing. We had dinner last night with a couple of friends. None of us had a drink. We had sparkling water and none of us overate. And also we were done by 6 o'clock. And because we get up at 5 o'clock for our workout, and it's the encouragement that you get from people to go, hey, are you having a drink? Like, no, we got 6 a.m. tomorrow. All right. And we just don't do it. And so for me, it's the people versus the ones like, oh, whatever. It's just one, whatever. It's just, who cares? It's 2 drinks. Like, what's it matter? Right. Or you work out all the time. And I think you kind of get in this habit of you feel either guilty or biased by those folks. So you feel like you need to appease them. And I think it's a matter of finding the person that actually is challenging you. Like, I mean, I know Kiara's in my class in the morning and she knows, like, if I'll give her crap for like a week straight and she sees me slacking once, and she'll come over and she'll give me crap back. She's waiting for that, that moment. And I think that's the thing. You really have to surround yourself with a community that's going to be supportive of you, because you're going to go through stressors in your life, and that's when it becomes a challenge. And so, I think there's so many things I can share, but my journey's been a long one. It hasn't happened overnight. I'm 42. I've been trying to be in shape probably my whole life, but it's finally happened over the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Amazing. Again, and the two things I think I'm always trying to highlight for people as we're talking about this, you brought up community. There is so much research and science behind community being the absolute magic. The absolute magic. Like, you can be doing any single thing as long as you're surrounded. And the research around who you spend the majority of your time with, you will actually begin to look like those people.
Yeah.
We saw this in research projects, right? It's so who you spend, and that is such a big message that you put out there. So I love this. Community and who you spend your time with are going to be some of the really most important things. And if they encourage you and challenge you to be the best you, versus hanging around people who allow you to, or even encourage you to not achieve your life goal.
Well, it's encouragement versus discouragement is kind of the way to look at that. So, but yeah.
Kira, I'd love to hear your story and your go-to when people ask you what you would tell them as sort of someone they look up to at this point.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, so I've gone through lots of highs and lows, I guess you could say, a variety of different weights and different physiques. But for me, when I'm consistent, like I have been recently, and just having movement every single day, but taking rest days and just keeping things simple other days, like I just feel overall so much better. Like, and I think for my mental health too, getting out and moving and doing a workout has just helped me in my headspace. Something that I've struggled with, and Liz and I were kind of talking about this last week. My background is like being an athlete. Like I was a softball player all through, from a t-ball all the way up to high school, and then I was a cross country runner too. So I am very much like a go hard, like, kind of black and white, it's all or nothing. And once you leave the sports world and then you're in the regular adult world, it's not always like that. And so having to learn to, like, your journey is fluid, and as long as you just keep consistent and keep putting in the effort, that's what matters. And like some of the things Rahul said, like, you can go and you can enjoy these things in life and these different food and drinks, but it doesn't have to be the all or nothing, like absolutely cut out the Diet Coke or things like that. Like you don't have to do it that way. So I think just finding the balance of whatever works for you, but keeping things consistent in how you're fueling your body and how you're moving it.
Love it. So we're hearing this all the way around, right? Is this consistency and moving away from all or nothing thinking. And I think, I want to kind of go into that a little more deeply, because I think it's really hard for people to recognize that they're having all or nothing thinking, because maybe they've been doing it for so long. Either they're working out or they're not working out. They're on a diet, they're off a diet, right? Maybe helping people bridge that concept a little bit, I think would be really helpful. And this idea, I think, that will bind us tonight, which is what Kira's saying, is that this is a fluid journey. None of us, including myself, an expert, a book writer, a person who knows all there is to know, is on a linear journey, because everything changes all the time. Just really being at, now I'm 52. And so that's a wholly different age than losing weight and staying fit in my 30s. So I've had to learn and assemble a new plan as I rotated through different jobs, COVID stealing all of my movement patterns, stressing and messing with sleep. Really, all of us, if we give ourselves the grace that we would give to someone else, to say, wow, have you taken a look at your life right now recently? Have you seen like where you are with your job and your family, right? I've got kids that are now heading to college. That's very different than having 2 and 3-year-olds running around in my living room, right? So my lifestyle has changed dramatically. If I think I'm going to get the same results doing the same things, it's sort of a recipe for insanity. So we called this missing pieces, and I want us to keep talking about this, because it's a constant puzzle that you have to go, okay, what pieces do I need to be moving onto the table right now a little bit more? So that's really helpful. Good. So what are the pieces that you are each working on currently? Anyone want to jump in with that? Like, what is the one? Because we're all focused on something at all times, I think, where, again, I call it the Rubik's Cube. Like you kind of you're turning the Rubik's Cube and you're looking for the sides to all match up, but then life happens. And so you go, oh, I'm working on movement at this point in my life, because it's still just a struggle since my job changed because of COVID patterns. So it's still something that I'm personally working on. What are you guys working on?
So I'm going to chime in there. And, for me, the 2 things that I've always been working on was the exercise and the carbs. And, F45 really helped with the exercise. So that's been fantastic. And as you guys know, it is Ramadan. So that's kind of, made me readjust my Rubik's Cube and go, okay, how is my body going to readjust to fasting and working out? So I've given that a bit of a pause for a week just to see how I adjust. And I'm actually mentally preparing myself to actually try my first workout next week. I'm like, okay, to see how I can time it while I'm fasting. When can I do it? So, I can get all that figured out. But my carb pillar has really been my focus. And I'm so glad that you brought up the community, because for me, that has been super huge. And I will say that support that I'm getting from my community, from our Target 100 community, has been huge in my carb focus. And I've just taken the small step of posting my first meal every day. And Liz, I've been doing this for now 71 days. It amazes me, because I started this little habit and I just thought, okay, all I'm going to do is plate my food, take a picture, and just share it with my friends. And the support that I've gotten has been tremendous. And how that's helped me is that it's helped me create awareness around what I'm eating. And it's like the part of my life, because food is so emotional for me, that is the most difficult to address. And I think that little step is putting me in the right direction, where I'm excited about doing it. I'm conscious about what I'm plating, what I'm eating. And then it keeps me in that conversation throughout the day, where I'm conscious about the carbs and the foods and the healthy foods that I'm intaking. And so that's kind of been how I've been managing my Rubik's Cube around that pillar. And it is, I will say that, like all the rest of you guys, I have done so many diets throughout my life that you know, you say food, it just gets me stressed. And I'm learning bit by bit, like, no, you know what? It doesn't have to stress me. I've learned to really let go of that guilt, like Rahul, you talked about, like having the food and letting go of that guilt. I've let go of that guilt. And now I'm at that next stage of where like I really want to be aware and be able to just be like, yeah, this is all I want to eat and I'm good. So that's kind of where I am with my journey.
Oh, I love this. Well, and the ripples, the ripple effect of
Mhm.
changing a small behavior or creating a behavior like plating your food and taking a photo of
Mhm.
it, right? Did you hear that there were like waves that went behind it, just like this
Yeah.
photo behind me, right? This beautiful painting in this room. There's these waves that come of things that you never expected from taking that one puzzle piece and snapping it in place and seeing the picture take flight in front of you of like, oh my God, people, if you guys could see, people are like waiting for her post each day because she's not just posting, she's like talking about what she's doing and how it's making her feel. And then they're just crowding in to lift her up and say, thank you for doing this. And you've helped me because I'm seeing what you're doing and you're inspiring and motivating me. But it decreased your portions. You started to
Mhm.
realize you were eating too much food when you started to look at it and plate it. It slowed you down. It's made you put more fruits and
Mhm.
vegetables on that plate. It
Mhm.
just goes on and on and on. And it all came from one shift. So what a great,
Yeah.
very powerful example.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess I can next one of the things it's kind of kind of funny when you think about this and it's because come a long way. But one of the things I'm really working on right now is my ability to be more flexible and in
Mhm.
stretching positions. And so something that I kind of never thought, a lot of things I never thought I could do. Um, I'm working towards. So I've been a lot more conscious about stretching before I get to a workout, and doing things. And it's created, again, anytime you do something, it creates some issues, but there's positions, that I never thought I could be able to be that flexible to get into. And as I get older, those are more and more important for me. And when I was, in my 20s or 30s, it's like, oh, whatever, no big deal. And those are like product of some of the things where I feel like a lot of people make mistakes. And so, one of the biggest why people struggle, I feel like when they go, my health journey, my first journey was going with a personal trainer and working the three basic movements like bench, squat, and deadlift, right? And you think, hey, I can lift really heavy. But I'm 42. I don't ever need to lift 300 pounds over my head or 300 pounds on my back and do something. And if I ever am in a situation where that's something that would come up, I would probably fail anyways at it. So, but I put my body through a lot of things that today I'm working on trying to fix. So for me, that's helped a lot, right? And I have friends that are in their 40s and they ache and they have a lot of body pains. And I look at them and I worry for them when they turn 50 and 60. And so for me, it's those things. And that's a product of a phrase that a friend of mine really told me that has stuck with me since the beginning of my health journey is how you enter each decade is how you're going to live that decade. So if you enter the age of 40, like unhealthy or out of shape, how your 40s are going to be difficult for you. And that means your 50s are going to be even worse. You don't just reverse the damage that quickly. So the idea was 5 years out from turning 40, I go, I don't want to enter 40 like this. And so it took 5 years, but I entered my 40s a hell of a lot better than I entered my 30s. So now my goal is I've got 7 years to be 50 and I want to be able to go, wow, like my 50-year-old is better than my 40-year-old. And that doesn't mean I have to be stronger or less body fat or less weight. It just means I've got to be healthier. And that means maybe more flexible, more lean, certain things that I don't want to have issues with, like knee pain or joint pain. So those are the things that to me is fun. It's that flexibility, but it relates to a lot of other things in my life as I get older.
I love it too. And I think part of this conversation, I want people to understand it is endless,
Yeah,
right? It's endless
100%.
what you could focus on. You can do flexibility. You can do plating your food. You could do, I'm going to walk to work in the morning. I could go to bed, 15 minutes earlier. The behavior, right? There is no limit for us as humans. And that's my goal out of this conversation, is that you see that people who are achieving, real goals in their lives, it's because and I say this all the time, like, you don't go to your job and say, well, I'm done, I'm not going to think about that anymore, right? But for some reason, with our wellness, it's like this is some sort of finite experience that we're supposed to do it, and then it's supposed to be fixed. And so opening your mind to looking at Rahul, and he says, I'm gonna work on my flexibility, and how that impacts your life. Oh my gosh, I started yoga during COVID for the same reason, for stress relief and for greater flexibility. And it is, again, the waves that have come of goodness in my life from being more flexible. I think it's in my brain. I'm more flexible now. Even my body's more flexible. It's made my thought process more flexible. It's made me just more balanced, more calm, more stable. All of those things come from this one behavior change. So I love that.
I
Kira, how
have to
about
say,
you? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I have to say, Rahul, what you just said, how you enter that decade is how you're going to live that decade. That is so powerful. I mean, that's just like about the quality of your life. Like, you're basically saying, I want my quality of life to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kira, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so one thing for me, I think, is kind of back on the diet thing. And there's like a few key things. So one, like, I've been so good at meal prepping my lunches. Like, my husband and I have been doing that for years now, basically since we've been together. And so, like, that part is good, easy. And I typically pack like healthy snacks, like protein snacks to have at work for like mid-morning or afternoon. But the stuff that's been getting me lately, and like, it's habits, right? But is energy drink usage. And then, since being in the corporate setting, sodas. And I have not typically been a big energy drink or pop drinker. But I would say in the past, I don't know, 6 months to a year, it's just kind of been a thing for me. And then the other thing is trying to add in more fruits and vegetables. And it's like, again, I used to be so good at it, but just being more conscious and picking up those leafy greens and adding those things back into my diet. But one thing that Liz has kind of talked to me about, and that I'm trying to work through, is like, don't drink the whole energy drink, like, kind of start weaning myself, if you will. Or I'm like cutting back. Like, I was there for a while having one almost every day, 5 days a week before my 6 a.m. class. And like, for my budget and my stomach, like, I need to cut back on this. And so trying to reduce that and the soda intake, and then adding in more fruits and veggies.
You make such a good point. And I talk a lot about this at Target 100, which is something called regression, or something that, right, where we're in a space in our lives, and then something happens, and all of a sudden we start doing things that either we've never done before, that we don't want to be doing, and they ramp up. They ramp up, right? It started with one energy drink, and you're like, wow, that made my workout kind of fire. I'm going to do that again tomorrow, right? Like, and it's like this sort of like creep that happens over time. And this is why we're having this conversation, is because all of us, no matter where you are in this process, has what I call sort of a whack-a-mole moment, right? Where you're like, wait, I thought I already got that guy. I thought I already knocked that guy down, and he popped back up again. Whether it's fruits and vegetables, or an energy drink habitual thing popping up on you. It's so important that we all take a little bit of an accounting of our own behaviors and lives, and where is it that we want to see ourselves make a little shift, because we're not happy with that thing that we're doing. Even though the outcome that we're getting from it is positive in the moment, we know we don't want it long term. So we have to be in the game. Right. Again, that's why I like the puzzle pieces and the missing pieces of like feeling like you're actually actively in the game, always putting this thing together, always having it take shape anew for you. And then finally, I think it's really important what you said. I try to drive this home all the time. Never did I say to Kira when we were coaching to say, you shouldn't do that. You should drop that right now, tomorrow, no more energy, which is really where the industry has gone, honestly. And the communities of F45 and Target 100 are the opposite. It's how much can we help you to move the tiniest move down the field? Can we get you to pick up the 3 pounds versus the 1 pound weight, right? Can we help you do 2 reps of that and then move you back? Can we help you say, no, you know what? You're a little bit dependent on that energy drink right now. Like it's a little bit of a habit pattern. Pulling it back in one fell swoop isn't going to be helpful to you. You won't learn anything from that. But saying, you know what, I'm going to work this week to only drink half of one each morning is a way more powerful move than saying, I'm done. It's the all or nothing, on or off thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
Rahul.
yeah, I think that's like the worst, as we're talking about, there's people give up, and I know, Fatima, you're on this journey too. And sometimes I look at this and say, there are things that I did, and those are like stages. So you got to do it, right? It's like, if you're taking T-ball, like kids start with T-ball and the ball's on the thing, at some point you may want to get off of that as your thing. And so, I tried low carb pizzas and stuff, and those were, I looked at this and then I started really looking at, hey, what are the ingredients on some of these? So if I'm going to eat that, like, I just got to eat my pizza. And so I added my trick for me that works is I chug a ton of water right before I eat, like at 30 minutes before I eat, and I drink water while I'm eating. And that really allows me to enjoy a really good piece that I want, versus having something that I don't enjoy as much. But kind of like to your point, where there are ways that you can still have what is satisfactory to you, but then as you continue to grow and evolve, there'll be things that you go, you know what, I can live without that one because I'd rather opt in for this other thing, right? That is important. And again, like the health it's all relative to you. And I think that's where I hate the phrase like, oh, I can't do that, right? Like, I can't do that. Like, and I hate that because it's not saying you can't do that. It's you don't want to do that, right? So you can choose that. If you want to be overweight, if you want to feel, tired and exhausted, then that's up to you. And I just 2-3 weekends ago, there was a family that were at the bowling alley, and the dad, he didn't get up one time from his seat at all to bowl, to do anything other than he ate. But you know what? There was no interaction for him to do what he wanted to do with his kids. And he probably couldn't have been he was probably younger than me. So like, don't you want to be involved with your kids, right? And like, go do that. So there's sacrifices that you'll have to make if that's what you want to go do, right? Otherwise, you're not a participant. You're there, but you're not participating. And to me, entering those decades is also entering the decades with like your kids. Like when my kids are 18 and they want to go hike somewhere, like, I don't want to be that 52-year-old dad that's like, oh, I can't do that. Like, I want to be like, all right, let's go. So yeah, I mean, it's okay to enjoy those things. At the same time, like Kiara's recognized, like, that's not good for me. So she knows it. So there'll be a time where you're like, all right, well, that's the next thing I'm going to cut because I'm progressing. She knows it. It just may not be today. It might be later, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
And celebrating all those wins, right?
Yeah.
Celebrating that day that you have that half of one. And then that becomes normal, is to just pour it out halfway through or pour out half before you start. So, it's easier that way for me. It's like, cut the sandwich in half and, just eat what's in front of you, right?
Yeah.
I think, the idea that, we're learning something always at Target 100 called flexible restraint. And we're talking a lot about flexibility today. Flexible restraint is a skill where you say, I do want to have that pizza and I'm going to learn the skills around having that, versus this sort of all or nothing thinking where you say, I can't have it, or I'm not going to have it, or I don't want to have it. I think this was the biggest shift for me. And it takes, again, kind of what we're talking about, it takes testing and learning. I've fallen on my face going out for pizza and thinking I had some strategies in place. And, I remember like learning to go to parties, and I would say like, oh, I'll eat before I go. And then I would eat before I went. And then I'd get to the party and eat there too. I'd be like, okay, well, now I had 2 meals instead of like learning how to eat at the party, right? So I think this idea of learning skills around all things of like, and not ever, guys, don't eat what isn't good, what isn't like really, really great, right? I think that's another, I think I'm living it right now. I'm at this all-inclusive resort in Cancun for my son's. It's like his graduation party of like, he's going to college next year, and a few friends came down here. And the food is just so average, I have to say, because it's
Yeah.
it's average. And so like I took a bite of a piece of pizza yesterday and I was like, that doesn't even remotely resemble pizza. I'm not eating that, right? Learning to kind of like have the wherewithal to not eat it because it looks like pizza and tastes like a shoe, right? So learning those skills, just put it down, you know, find your way around and have the things you love, but learn to manage them, right? So it's a big piece of this.
I think, you know, Liz, like, and what I've also learned from this is that I've always had like, you know, when we do the diets and we're on and off, it's also like that goal oriented. And I feel like with like Target 100, with F45, I feel like it's a process oriented. And I say that because like, and before it was always like, okay, I've got 25 pounds to lose. Like I gotta do this, I gotta do this. And then once you're close, or you're either you've hit your goal or you've failed, and then you stop and you don't like kind of do this stuff anymore. And I feel like now I'm where it's more of like you're talking about, like it's a process, it's an ongoing thing where every day you have these certain things that you're doing and it's independent of the day before, right? It's like you just wake up and you're like, I do these things. I go to the gym, I work out, I plate my food, I do. It's just kind of like this ongoing habits that you're doing every single day without a goal in mind. Like there's no end in mind. So it's almost like we're doing this where it's like, you know, on Friday you have a test, so you study every day. You take your test, you don't study, right? But with process, every day you study and you take your test, you go, that's great. Then the next day you wake up and you start studying again. So it's almost like that's how I feel. I feel like I'm just doing this ongoing thing where I've taken these habits and things that I've learned about myself. And I'm not going, okay, summer's coming, we're going on vacation, I better lose this much. I'm kind of like, okay, summer's coming. By that time, I want to have this, and this habit more in place on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of more of like a lifestyle approach change versus I've got to hit this number change.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. So, you know, I think we're hitting so many big, important things, this idea around process, you know, we think of it in all the other spaces in our life, right? You know, we want to be able to learn. And I said, like, I tested and learned my way in to many, many things. And being able to have the processes in place where we teach a lot around habit formation, where we understand there's a trigger, and then there's this routine that occurs, and then there's this sort of reward that we're getting from whatever that behavior is, right? So we can just borrow Kira's example of the energy drink, right? It was like, I'm tired, you know, I need energy. I drive by the gas station on my way there. I pull in and I grab this thing. The routine, it starts there. The reward is like, I am like flying in a matter of minutes for this early morning workout, right? There's an actual reward there. And now the understanding the process of unraveling those habits and resetting up new habits is what we're talking when we talk process. It's truly about having a process to identify the thing you want to change, then go about saying, I'm going to do half this week. Then maybe on Monday, I'm not going to have one at all. Then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like actually creating just like you would for your children or for anyone you cared about. You would give them an outline of how to achieve what it is that they want to achieve on all levels. So
you know, you hit, I think that's one of the most powerful things that anyone can kind of hit on or talk about is that routine. Cause it's, if you just figure out whatever you're doing in a routine and subtract, whether it's, you know, I say 1% better or whatever that is, if you can do one thing a little bit better, it's going to make that better. And, you know, you talk about routine. So a lot of people, I was never, and Kira, you know me now, right? Like people, like if I told you I was not a morning person up until 5 years ago, you probably would go, you're out of your mind. Like I look like I'm one of the dudes that's bouncing off the walls in the morning. And it wasn't until I got forced into working out at 5 a.m. by simply looking at my schedule. And this guy looked at my first experience with a personal trainer, a great friend of mine still. He kind of looked at this and I told him, blah, 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 I'll come in when I can, sometimes afternoons, sometimes mornings. And, I'll try to maybe do this. And he's like, okay, well, how about I sign you up for 20 sessions? I'm like, perfect. So I paid him and then we were trying to work through it. He goes, perfect. I'll see you Monday through Friday at 5 a.m. Monday through Thursday at 5 a.m. And I'm like, no, dude, like that doesn't work for me. And he's like, well, that's the time I'll be here. That's the time we're going to go. And for every session you miss, you still get charged. And I'll be here at 5 a.m. I'm like, I'm paying you. Like you're supposed to work around my schedule. And I remember I'm almost like, who the hell do you think you are? Like to tell me that that's the time I'm going to do this. And it forced a routine change for me that I thought I was, I work late. No, I don't. Cause I was drinking coffee. I was drinking energy drinks. I was doing Red Bulls every day because I would stay up. And I thought that's when I worked well as a night owl. No, I never did. And then I was, and so, you have to build this routine of whatever that is. If it's more water, this reminds me that I haven't done it. In the routine, you can have it that I'm going to drink 5 of these every day, but you'll forget. So this reminds you. So you need things. The routine is like the best thing. If you stick to a routine and improve elements of your routine, it gets so much easier, so much easier.
And literally, you've said this twice now, and I think in different ways, is that we are capable of so much more than we actually think we are. We are absolutely capable, and it is repetition over time. This brain is simply a supercomputer that is willing, if you will just do the routine, it literally, and you have to be willing. I would say the biggest tip is learn to be uncomfortable. Learn to sit in discomfort. Learn to put those feet on the floor at 5 a.m. if that's your goal, right? If that's the routine you're trying to establish, learn about going through discomfort. That's such an important piece. Fatima, I felt like you were about to say something.
No, it's like when you say learn to sit with discomfort, it just rings like so many bells. It is hard. Change is hard. And I think all the different changes I've gone through with adapting to I'm crazy with the movement, but that slow growth and just getting yourself finding different ways to get movement. And so Liz, I've joined Liz. This is my 3rd Ramadan with her. And I remember the first one, I had that conversation where I was like, I can't walk. Like it's, we're not drinking water. Like I can't go out for a walk. I'm going to pass out. And every time you talk about it, I laugh because now this is my 3rd Ramadan and I am clocking in 15,000 steps a day. I'm like, why should I stop? Like it's like these limitations we have in our head. And it's because it feels uncomfortable. And that's the thing. It's like, and I like that I understand now that it's going to be uncomfortable and I'm okay with it. You kind of embrace that feeling and say, okay, I just have to live with it for a little bit. And then you learn to adapt to that. And then it no longer becomes uncomfortable.
I think it's so interesting about discomfort and the processes that we go through. If you'll allow yourself to stay aware during discomfort and during habit formation, you'll actually begin to learn that you personally have an absolute rhythm to your development of that habit, right? And for me, it often starts out with there's doubt. How am I going to be able to do this? And then it goes to frustration. I don't like this. And it goes to anger. I don't want to do this anymore. Then it goes to sadness. I'll never get there, right? There's this whole thing that happens for me. And it's now, I know it so well. It's fun to go through the predictability of how my brain is going to react towards this change I'm trying to make. So everything is a learnable system, believe it or not. It's a learnable system, and you can input in place any single thing you want to do. And by repeating it over time, you can achieve literally, truly anything that you want. So, well, so we are, I'm going to wrap this up. Just, I think it'd be powerful for people to know, as you look back, what was one of the biggest challenges one of the habits or behaviors that was the most difficult for you to change as you got into this, or as you're going? I will start with my own, a couple of my own, just to kind of start the conversation. I have two that come to mind. One was nighttime eating, was eating after dinner. I used to just love it. I had like a whole routine of like popcorn that I would make and where I would sit, and I felt like I'm never gonna be able to do it. And using sort of some of the learnings and moving my location and not sitting in the couch and like, just working to not have the popcorn in the house and to brush my teeth right after dinner. Like I had to put all these things, but I was so angry about it. Oh my God, I wanted the popcorn so badly because my brain was like, this is what we do at night. This is what we do, right? And sat through that discomfort. And I would also say my wine habit was probably the hardest thing that I've ever, because it additionally is an addictive substance on top of it. So pulling that back, and I went through so many iterations of it, playing with all these different ways of like, oh, I just won't drink on weekdays. And hey, I'll have a glass of water in between every glass of wine. And oh, you know what? I'll do dry January. Oh, there's so many iterations that I've played around with until I've really just found a really comfortable space for in my life, but it came from the test and learn. So what about you guys?
I think for me, the biggest change has been for me to make has been the like relationship with food. So it's comes down to these three variables: protein, carbs, and like calories, right? And I think that creates this feeling that there's foods that you can eat that are good for you based on three measurements that sometimes aren't. So a conscious effort that I've made since January is like the removing the dependence of protein shakes. And so since January, I probably have had maybe 5 to 10 protein shakes, period. And so I was relying on those as a part of my routine to get these macros in. And again, these come in journeys. So I'm not, anybody who's still on this journey is going to say, well, hold on, that's what I'm doing. Well, go for it. Like until you feel like you're at this place where you need to go, if that's weight loss, muscle gain, whatever you need, everyone's different. But for me, it was just this macro count. And you know what I've been doing now is I've just been eating breakfast. And I've been enjoying my breakfast versus drinking a shake. And it's actually helped me a lot to eat a lot better. And then same thing we talk about. So to me, it's been about kind of removing the three basic parameters of food and changing what's in them. So when you look at those things, changing the way you look at food is important to me, because I feel like you can drink something that's got 0 calories, but it's got 1,100 ingredients. But if somebody tells you to eat a banana, you're like, oh, I can't have all the sugar. And to be honest with you, I feel like, hey, eat the banana and drink the, fresh squeezed orange juice and skip that. So it's been the definition of what food is and what healthy food is. I think that's really what to me has been the hardest to really change.
Wow, that is so powerful. And I love that you called out wherever you are, because that's what I've really seen. And what Target 100 always was for me was like, could I help people actually really be where they are, right? And you said it so beautifully. You know what? If that's where you are right now, that's cool. I was there for a really long time. I'm not judging anybody. It was actually a really good stage for me. I was getting my macros and it was quick and I could do it in the car.
Yeah, I mean, it helped me get to where I am. And so I'm not dismissing it at all. It's just, again, you get to these stages and say, okay, well, what do I do next? And, Fatima, you talked about that too. And, you talked about the carbs, and I would say like, go for it, keep doing that. But then there'll be a point where you go, well, I may not need to really look at that. There might be something else that you're looking at. So, and you might be able to reincorporate that 80 grams of carbs on something that you're like, hey man, I really enjoyed bananas, and that's a lot of carbs. But so, yeah, I think it's how we define food, I think, is something that changes. That's been the hardest change.
Love it. Kara, how about you?
I think one thing for me, so especially since doing like the early morning 6 a.m. workouts, like I wake up at 5:15 almost every weekday, and like that means prioritizing my sleep. I'm usually pretty good about getting my sleep, but also like, you know, the mindless scroll, or you get caught up stuck watching the TV. Well, and then you look at the clock and you're like, oh crap, and you know, your alarm's gonna go off no matter what. So like starting to wind down earlier and just like, you know, if it's 8:15, 8:30, that's okay. I can start like my bedtime routine and just like being okay with that. And then another thing too, I think is like cutting back on alcohol. So for me, like I'm 26, so just a few years out of college, I guess, and like young, like we don't have kids, and so like, you know, that's just what my friend group does. Like we drink and we enjoy ourselves. But it's like it doesn't make me feel the best. And then, you know, your recovery and then like getting back into the workouts, like I truly do notice a difference when I've been drinking versus not. And so like coming back from my trip to Mexico, Raul knows I was struggling because we were at an all-inclusive. But so anyways, I think that, and again, just like being okay with like, yeah, I can have a drink here and there when I want to, but not having it as a constant habit of the regularness of it. It's been a challenge, but in a good, positive way.
Yeah, and you're touching base with that third part of the stool, right? We have a trigger, we have a routine, and then there's a reward. When we touch base with, and that was very much is how I really change behaviors, is when I notice how I feel and the positive payoffs and benefits that I'm getting from that new routine. You know, my workout is better, my sleep is better. Wow, I don't, you know, this. Okay, so then it makes that choice of not maybe having the alcohol one night easier because you're so connected to the positive payoff and benefit, versus a lot of times we're in the deprivation mode where we say, oh, I can't have, right? I'm saying, oh, I get to make this choice. I get to do this, right? Versus I have to do this. Those are awesome. Fatima, how about you?
Yeah, I would have to say, like, very specifically for me, it's sugar, you know, it's that whole going, that's my go-to. And I find it interesting because like my overall food, my overall, you know, sugar intake, my overall binging, like I will say too, I no longer binge because of Target 100. And that has been a huge thing. So my overall content, like volume of food and sugar intake has gone down, and that's contributed to my weight loss. But it's still my like go-to from like when I'm emotional, like when I'm stressed, like something happens and like, you know, I get triggered, like the first thing I want to do is I want to go for that sugar. I want that. And I always find it interesting, like after all this time, that's still there. And that's something that I work on. And I do what, you know, you talked about the awareness and being uncomfortable. And that's one of the reasons why I laugh, is that it's really uncomfortable because it's just what I'm used to. It brings so much comfort in the moment. But then afterwards, I feel terrible. Like not even just emotionally terrible, but physically, like the aftermath of sugar is not wonderful. Like when you have the downfall and the next day you wake up and you're having a sugar low and it's taking you the whole day to catch up. So I always try to keep that in mind, but it's interesting for me because it is a challenge. It is where I do regress, where if, even though I'm in awareness and stuff, I can't help it. Like if I get stressed or something happens emotionally, Liz, like the first thing I think about are all the things that have tons of sugar. And it's regression, you know, and but that's kind of what I work on. And I try to figure out why I'm doing this. And I'm much better now because I'm aware of it. And when I do give in, I do where I enjoy it. I say, okay, move on. And I try to recognize, I try to like pull myself back and try to figure out what emotion, what is it that I'm going through that's really gotten me to that point, and how can I address it? But it is an ongoing process. It's like an ongoing thing. And I realize a part of me is like, it's going to be forever, right? Like life is not perfect. So I am going to be ongoing having to deal with different emotion things and different triggers, and having to figure out like, okay, so you're going to go to sugar. How are you going to handle this? And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on. I think we've got Liz frozen here. I think I shocked her with my sugar. She'll pop back in.
She's gone actually, but
I know, I think the Wi-Fi drop should probably pop back
okay.
in.
Yeah, you know, it's fun. Well, I guess on the sugar topic, and
Yeah.
I've had that. I love candy, so I'm still a candy person. And so I think it's again one of those things where I think it's like I could eat a whole box of something or a bag of something. So I think it's that there are days that still that happens, right? And so I have to I
Mhm.
don't know how to get rid of that. But I guess I think I've maybe worked on getting rid of the guilt of it and just saying, hey, look, you know what? I enjoyed the heck out of it. And I
Yeah.
do feel like crap, but you know, I think it's instead of making, I think when you say you feel like crap, it's maybe the body feels like it, but maybe
Mhm.
eliminating, hey, mentally, you know what? I needed that. Like, and so I think I think it's a better way of like enjoying what it is without that like guilt. And that's what I was talking about with the
Mhm.
pizza food. Like there comes a point where you will, I feel like you can't enjoy that without changing how you feel about your body or how you look. But it's a process and it doesn't happen immediately, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I disappeared there. Did I
That's
disappear or
okay.
freeze on y'all?
Both.
Both.
Okay. Well, and thank you for continuing the conversation. I so appreciate you guys being here. You know, you guys are all, you know, such inspiring and motivating folks. For those guys who are watching, we wanted to make sure you know, all four of us have participated in F45 and in Target 100. We have a lot of great stuff going on right now. If you want to get to know Target 100, we have classes that are getting started actually 2 weeks from tonight and last night. So Monday, the 17th and Tuesday, the 18th of April, we start our foundation courses for anyone who wants to join. Fatima's going to put the link in the chat. For
Yeah.
my friends down in San Antonio, we are running our first ever Target 100 and F45 challenge, a combo challenge, where we are having you guys actually compete along 10 weeks of incredible curriculum, and you will, have this incredible opportunity to, work with us hand in hand with F45 and Target 100 working together. So keep an eye out, ask your coaches for more information around that. Target 100, for those of you guys who are watching, for the first time, we do have a 10-week curriculum. We do send out a beautiful box to each person that is participating. So it's going to make the challenge down in San Antonio really exciting, because we'll be able to actually kind of track everything you're doing, from your steps to your sleep to your hydration, and then your F45 involvement as well. These two things together, we know they are a powerhouse combo. So if you are looking for the kind of transformation you heard about here tonight, surround yourself with these two amazing communities and get involved. In San Antonio, there are going to be two teams. We're getting two teams, so join a team and be a part of this incredible initiative we're doing together. We'd love to see you there. So any final words from anyone that you want to share before we say goodnight?
Don't be too hard on yourself. And if you've failed before, perfect. Just keep going. It's gonna happen. So just keep failing and keep trying, and eventually you're gonna continue to get better and better. So don't be afraid. Don't be down on yourself if you fail. I think that's the biggest challenge, is people are like, oh, they get in their head. So failure is just part of the process.
Awesome. Fatima, any parting words?
I would just say slow and steady, just keep going. My thing is, even if you're crawling, you're moving forward. So whatever you can do, there are days you're not going to be able to do everything, which for me is pretty much most days. I've got to pick and choose what I can do, but it makes me so happy to know that whatever I'm doing is making a difference. So just keep going, guys.
Keep going. And Kara?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of said it, but that's one thing that Rahul said, is being hard on yourself. That's something I struggle with, and I think we can all get in that habit. But like, it's just one step at a time, one day at a time, one meal at a time sometimes too, right? So just take things as they come, and yeah, be flexible. Oh
Oh,
no,
she's frozen again. Oh no.
we froze her.
Oh, there she's back.
She's back.
You're back.
I'm back again. I'm having a little technical difficulty tonight, but I will thank you guys for being with me and for sharing your best tips. I can tell everyone says you've really helped them tonight. So we'll put this recording up for anyone. Share it with your friends. I hope to see you in these courses that start just 2 weeks from tonight. I'll be there. The coaches will be there, and we have a blast. So join us. All right. Thank you guys. Be
Guys.
well.
Bye.
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 Bye.